She said it again that night. We need to talk. Her voice carried that practiced weight, soft enough to sound concerned, sharp enough to draw blood. I turned down the TV, waited. But, like always, she didn't talk. She performed. A one-woman show of grievances. How I wasn't attentive, how I shut down, how she felt unheard. I didn't argue. I'd learned long ago that logic was a language she didn't understand. This wasn't about truth, it was about dominance. She kept circling the same accusations, searching for something I'd eventually apologize for. I didn't. 2 hours in, she stormed off, claiming she couldn't communicate with someone so emotionally distant. The irony nearly made me laugh. When the door slammed, I sat there in the quiet aftermath of her chaos, and something inside me clicked into place. We weren't talking. We never had been. We'd been negotiating control. And I was done negotiating. The next few weeks were predictable. More talks, more rehearsed emotion. Each one started the same way. A sigh, a sad tone, a strategic pause. I watched her the way a scientist observes a specimen, detached, analytical. Her patterns were consistent, her words carefully recycled. Then came the small inconsistencies. A phone she kept face down, a friend she suddenly mentioned often, late-night text vibrations she ignored just a little too naturally. There was no direct proof, just signals. But I didn't need proof to feel the distance growing like a second shadow between us. She wasn't seeking communication. She was softening me, conditioning me for something she hadn't yet confessed, or hadn't decided how to frame. So I played along, listened, nodded, let her monologue stretch into early morning hours while I mentally drifted into silence. But I wasn't tuning out. I was taking notes. I started studying her like I used to study case files. Patterns, timelines, emotional inconsistencies. When she claimed she was working late, I checked her calendar. No meetings. When she said she was at dinner with friends, I called one. A quiet acquaintance who didn't know I already knew. The lie was casual, effortless. That was the part that stung. Not the betrayal itself, the ease of it. She'd practiced deception the same way she practiced her talks. Methodical, controlled. I didn't explode, didn't accuse. I adjusted. I began recording the sessions. Every talk, every word, every contradiction. By the 5th recording, I had enough inconsistencies to shatter the facade she lived behind. Still, I waited. Timing is everything. Revenge, to be effective, must look like consequence, not retaliation. So I made an appointment with a mediator. Professional, neutral, efficient. The kind of person trained to separate emotion from truth. And I set the next talk myself. A final performance, but this time I'd direct it. She came home late that night, hair perfect, voice sugar sweet. "I'm glad you're finally open to communicating," she said, smiling. I gestured toward the living room. I invited someone to help. Her brows furrowed as the stranger stood. Tailored suit, leather briefcase, calm expression. "Who is this?" she asked. "Our mediator," I replied, my voice even. "Divorce mediator." Silence. Real, heavy silence. It was the first time she'd ever been truly speechless. Her eyes flicked between us, disbelief collapsing into panic. "You're kidding," she whispered. I wasn't. I motioned for her to sit. "Now," I said, "we can really talk." She shook her head, laughter bubbling out, brittle and forced. "You're overreacting. We just need—" "I've listened to every talk for weeks," I interrupted. "But you weren't fixing the marriage. You were stalling, preparing your exit. I just beat you to it." Her mouth opened, but the mediator began explaining the paperwork, his tone clinical. She stared at the folder, trembling hands, silent tears. And I watched, detached, calm. There's a strange kind of satisfaction in watching a manipulator realize their script no longer works. The mediator left after 30 minutes. She stayed seated, staring at nothing. "You really brought someone here?" she whispered. "Yes." To end it like this? I met her eyes. No. To end you like this. Her lip quivered. You can't mean that. I did. I'd spent years trying to communicate with someone who only heard herself. So I gave her what she wanted, a conversation she'd never forget, a mirror held to her hypocrisy, a silence she couldn't talk her way out of. She reached for me. I stepped back. Now, I said quietly, you can spend the rest of your life explaining this version of the story, the one where you pushed too far and lost the only person still listening. Her face broke, not from love, but from loss of control. It was beautiful in its honesty. I packed that night, left the house before dawn. The air outside was cold, sharp enough to wake. Something in me I'd let die long ago. Freedom doesn't always feel like peace. Sometimes it feels like silence after a long scream. By the time she called the next morning, I was already gone. I didn't answer, because we had already talked. Every word, every lie, every manipulation, all cataloged, all exposed, all meaningless now. For the first time in years, I didn't need to speak to be understood. Some endings don't need closure, just witnesses. And she had one, a mediator, and me, the last real conversation she'll ever remember.